Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to a Frantastic Friday here on the Bitchuation Room. I am your host, Francesca Fiorentini. I hope you knew that, and thank you so much for being here, for pressing play, for joining me live. I hope your week isn't as heinous as it's been for the federal government. Just like you would hate to be part of the federal government, many of you are. This is a bad week, and it can only be made better by having Kyle Kulinski on my show for the very first time. If you don't know him, you will by the end of this hour. I'm super excited to have him. We're going to get into what the hell, constitutional crisis slash coup slash did you know you could just walk into a government agency and be like, I run this now, and they basically allow you to. So we'll get into that. We'll get into the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. I don't know. I feel like it's just like we need a new name for these little tweens, okay? These like unfuckable little shits who are running our country right now. So unfuckable little shits could be a thing. And now that I've said that, please super chat this show or give it 5 stars. You can also become a patron, patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. We meaning me, had a great interview with Robin D.G. Kelly on Wednesday, all about the backlash to DEI, the backlash to civil rights, the backlash that we are living in, and how it is deeply and fundamentally also a class war. And then we also talked a little bit about Los Angeles in the wake of the wildfires, and all of that. So get at that, patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. And there's so many perks, guys. 20% off merchandise from Bitchuation Room, bitchuationroom.com. 60% off the American Prospect magazine, which I write for every single edition. Access to the Ask Me Anything, which we're going to do next week, TBD. So send in your questions. And also, people have requested Kyle to be on the show before. So you also get access to, like, you can poke and prod me for who you want to be on the show by supporting it. And before we continue, I just have to let you know, for the last week, it's been very difficult for me to, like, do anything for myself. You know, I've also have a 2-year-old, so I do most things for her. But then it's like 1 o'clock and you're like, I haven't eaten lunch. And yet this week, thankfully, I relied on Factor. That's right. Factor meals helped me this week. They are packaged and ready to go, chef-made gourmet meals. Make it super easy to not have to think about meal planning, especially for lunch. You want something that's like healthy and balanced, but you don't want to do the, Trader Joe's gyoza, which you end up doing anyway. This week I had vegan mushroom masala, which was very good. It had green beans. I ate greens for lunch, guys. It's amazing. Today I had ramen, didn't have Factor. But they're dietitian approved, ready to heat in 2 minutes. So you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you, like, a coup or whatever. So also you can, if you're trying to eat healthier, Factor's a really good way to do it. So thank them. Join me in thanking them. I don't know why I'm supposed to say that. And try them out. You get 50% off your first box plus free shipping with the coupon code Bitchuation50 off. That's BITCH, spell it out, UATION 50 OFF. Bitchuation50 off. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Bitchuation50 off. Again, Bitchuation50 off. 50% off your first box. Just making sure everything is good. And with that, he is the host of the Kyle Kulinski Show /Secular Talk and Krystal and Kyle and Friends with his wife and host in her own right, Krystal Ball. Please welcome Kyle Kulinski. Kyle, what is going on?
No, nothing. Not much.
Just like having a super normal one. It's this is weird to do, but I like to do it anyway, because if people don't know you, I think they should. So I just wanted to, like, for all the Frantifa, for all the people who know my show, Kyle's been in this game talking about American politics from a progressive, angle for so many years now. You've got, 1.5, 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. But, like, how did you get into this? How long has it been for you? And, like, how are you doing? right in this moment? How do you, because there's a lot of people who can't hang out here. There's a lot of people who are like doing the news every day, and to the pace that you do, that we do, it's like at some point you tap out or you turn right, whichever one starts. Tell me,
It's honestly, you know how doctors, like surgeons, have to like sort of be sociopathic and like tune out what they're doing as they do it?
without thinking about what they're actually, yeah.
There's a little bit of that going on now, especially with just how much stuff is coming out over and over and over. But to answer your question, I started doing political commentary in 2008 as a hobby. I started doing it full time in 2012. For a while, I was with the TYT network. Name of the channel, Secular Talk. I started out, I did both like an online radio thing and a YouTube thing. And then now I'm, YouTube plus I'm on all the podcasting platforms. But I'm the psycho who has to follow all of this nonsense and then talk about it on a daily basis. And I'll tell you, these days, there is no such thing as a weekend. I'm always doing some sort of breaking this, breaking that, because it just never ends. It is a nightmare out there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great that we have someone like you and people who've like over time built up their independent platforms, because again, we know that like I had an MSNBC special and people were like, cool, maybe I'll go to my mom's house when it airs, because like everyone is a cord cutter, and most people are get their news online. And of course, as we know, the top performing YouTube channels are all right wingers, right? And
Right.
so it's really nice to have folks like yourself who've been following this stuff. And I mean, we can get right into it, just in terms of today, because I feel like, let's just broadly say that the addition of how active Elon Musk has been in the rollout of Project 2025 is not something I foresaw to the extent that we're seeing it. DOGE and their little lackeys, again, their little unfuckable shits, coming in, taking over databases, and compromising everyone's information, freezing the Treasury, and all of that. But what do you make of this, having done this commentary for so long?
Well, I mean, to put it simply, and I think you alluded to this before, it's a coup. That's what it is, right? At the very least, it's a constitutional crisis. But at this point, I think it's fair to call it a coup, because bottom line is what he's doing, and everybody needs to understand this. This is super important. He has zero authority to do the things that he's been doing. The way it works is Congress passes a bill, it goes through the House, it goes through the Senate, the president signs it, and then that's it. It's over. That's law. It goes to the Treasury disperses the payments. We're done here. There is no, oh, there's somebody in the Treasury on the back end that's going to audit it and say, I don't like this payment. I like this payment. We're going to freeze this. That's not a thing. None of that is a thing. So I've been pulling my hair out, because you would think literally second number one that he goes into the Treasury and he starts hacking into the database, that there would be like police there to arrest him.
Right.
And, he'd be dragged in front of a court within 5 minutes. But no, it was like, things are moving so slow. He was able to rummage through things for a day and a half before any court cases were filed. And then now they filed some. But here's what I'm scared of. The courts are definitely going to say, you got to stop doing this. Even if it's right-wing courts, I guarantee you they're going to say that. Every court so far has said, yeah, you can't do this. But what's to stop Elon from going, I disagree, I'm going to keep doing it. And then it's going to go, yeah, I'm letting him do it. And then here we are. It's like that. I don't know what you call that other than a coup. He's usurped Congress. He's even usurped the president. Yep. And so, like, people need to understand how everything is falling apart. Our institutions have been rotting for a long time, but now they're like being dismembered right in front of us.
Right. I mean, what's interesting is it's under the guise of, I'm making this more efficient. We're going to, hollow it out / privatize the payment system, or whatever the fuck they want to do with it. What's interesting is, like, we've been very good at paying our debts and our bills, unlike, say, Donald Trump, or Elon Musk. Like, federal workers get paid. People who run various programs, nonprofits, whatever it is, they get their money and they get it on time. I was talking to David Dan yesterday for America Unhinged. My new show is Zateo, and he was like, there's not enough money. People don't get paid in advance. It's not like, here's your 6-month sum, but it is very efficient, actually, speaking of government efficiency. So yeah, it is totally illegal. And the craziest part, Kyle, is that you see these things happen in other countries. Oh my God, a parliamentarian coup in El Salvador, Paraguay, these other countries where there's a power grab. And it's like, oh, I guess the difference between the United States and all these other countries is that nobody just tried in the United States.
No, that's exactly right. This is the richest man in the world. He's the richest robber baron in the world. If this exact same set of facts happened in another country, immediately we would call it a coup. It wouldn't even be a discussion. And people have this thing where it's like, it's this default idea in the American mind of like, no, it can't happen here. It can never happen here. Like, everything has now happened here. Hey, you name it, it's happened. And the stuff that they froze, I mean, God, I was just going through this earlier. I did a breaking video on this, that malaria treatment for children under 5, frozen. A device to prevent HIV infection, frozen. 30 studies on medical research, frozen. A method to treat cervical cancer, frozen. Support for pregnant women to reduce malnutrition, frozen. Tuberculosis treatment for children, frozen. Health clinics in 9 different states, all their funding froze overnight. They can't access it. In a lot of places, this is the only place you can go for healthcare. These are rural areas. But you know what the thing is, though? And this is true. Like, man, they are immediately tanking. Whatever support they had is going to be gone very quickly.
You think so?
Absolutely. So I live in a rural area where almost all of the jobs are government jobs. And Krystal was telling me that she was talking to another mother at one of our daughter's things. And you've never heard this much anger from these people. This is a very Republican area. And every single one of them was like, we got the email offering the buyout. We don't know if we should take it or not. We don't even think it's legal. They mandated everybody stop their online work at home and come in. So now the traffic to get into the government areas are like, they're backed up for like 40 minutes. With all these changes that Musk and Trump think nothing of, you are upending people's lives. And so the backlash is definitely coming. Musk already came down to a 36% approval rating in one poll, 39% in another poll. But Trump too, like this will not hold. But the question is, are there going to be elections the next time? That's the thing that's genuinely worrying.
I mean, I don't even know if we can afford to wait till the next time. That's my question.
Right. That's exactly right.
It's like these people need to resign. And I actually feel that way about Democrats too. So I want to just play, like, if the idea that you can just waltz in there and like you will be allowed, you will be barred from entering, and these unelected people are stopping senators and congresspeople from entering. This is a video that Congressman Maxwell Frost put out. And it is, I'm going to play it a little bit here. There is a dude who, I mean, he looks like he's like halfway through a yoga retreat. It's silent. It is, they're definitely fasting. He's got like a flower power Band-Aid on his,
see that. That's weird.
On his neck. And he is random guy standing between Congresspeople, and this is the Department of Education. They want to get in. He's not saying anything. And you hear Maxine Waters, I believe, asked if he's just going to stay there all day. This is ostensibly, unless you have other information, Kyle, a DOGE associate.
Right.
Are you prepared to stand here all night if we decide to stay?
I guess, yeah.
All right, well, you just stay right there. Then. You just stay and stand.
Why aren't you letting us go to that desk like we were able to do last year?
He's not a U.S. employee.
This is a public institution.
Did Elon Musk hire you?
Who do you work for? Who do you work for? Are you not aware of? Are you even? Who do you work for?
I'm a federal employee working for the education.
We trying to.
I'm a federal employee working for the education department. Bullshit.
Total bullshit.
Okay, so this is very emblematic. Look, last night, senators, no Democratic senator, but senators approved and confirmed Russell Vogt, who's the, Project 2025, like, mastermind effectively. So these folks are getting in, but like, to me, Kyle, I watch this and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Look at all these Congresspeople, but also, why aren't they either A, pushing past him, or where is security to, how are people just self-deputizing right now?
Yeah, look, I mean this in all sincerity. We need Democrats, lefties, liberals, anybody with any semblance of power. It's time to start, like, trying to get muscle on your side. Like, you need to pick off a few generals. You need to get some police chiefs, like, because that's where we're at now. Where they can very easily, they get their court order, hey, you have to stop this, and they just go, we're not going to stop it. And then it's like, well, what do? I said this the other day. If George Soros illegally hacked into the Treasury, there would have been a SWAT team there in 4 minutes, and they would have dragged his ass out of there in handcuffs. But
Yeah.
Elon Musk does it, and the right is celebrating. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen this, all the endless lies of the things that they say they found that they're cutting. They lied and said, Ben Stiller got $4 million to meet President Zelensky. Complete and utter lie, totally made up. They misstated. They said, oh, Politico is funded by U.S. aid.
Right.
Turns out that's not true at all. The amount of money that was given to Politico was for across the entire government, and it was all people who just got a Politico Pro subscription, which admittedly is expensive, but like Lauren Boebert was bringing this up, like, oh, Politico is funded by them. Turns out her office has a Politico Pro subscription. Like, there's a complete and utter war on factual information. They are swimming in a sea of misinformation and disinformation and spewing it out there at 100 miles an hour. And as the old saying goes, a lie gets all the way around the world before the truth can put his pants on. So we are in an all-out information war, and we're this close to an all-out civil war, because of the stuff we're seeing right here. Yeah, to your point, drag that fucking guy out of the way. Bring somebody in there. Have your own muscle and say, you're getting out of the way because we have a right to be in this building. And by the way, Elon Musk does not. These are Congresspeople, right? They can go in there. Now, they shouldn't have access to the payment systems and whatnot.
Of course not.
Yeah, but Elon Musk is in there. I mean, some of these stories that are coming out, a 19-year-old kid who's one of Musk's pilled up lackeys. This guy apparently was fired from a previous job because he was giving away the company secrets to another company. And now this guy is rummaging around in our U.S. government systems.
Here he is.
That's it. Yeah.
This is the guy. So for number one, he's wearing a suit and shorts. So you know things are bad.
Broccoli haircut. He looks like he's 12 years old.
Exactly. DOGE teen fired by cybersecurity firm for leaking company secrets. Now this guy is part of the DOGE team that's still working, stealing all our information. So he's fucking 19. He's been terminated for leaking internal information to the competitors, said a June 2022 message from executive of the firm. This is unacceptable and there's zero tolerance for this. So again, this is the kind of like highest bidder. I could sell this information, whatever private company, whatever foreign actor would like it. I mean, it's so ironic. And I am not someone who's like, oh, well, USAID does everything perfect. And yes, all of the democracy promotion we do in Venezuela isn't actually undermining real democracy, whatever. Like, I'm not that person. But like, when I see this kind of shit, I'm like, oh yeah. Foreign adversaries 100% want and will pay for that information. And it's terrifying. And it's so funny also because, just really quickly on the USAID stuff, Marco Rubio is all about USAID whenever it does the things that personally I don't agree with. Obviously, I agree with malaria treatments, HIV treatments, all the amazing stuff that they do around the world. But like when it comes to, trying to undermine democratically elected governments, don't love that stuff. And so Rubio has always been on the side of like, we need to do more of that shit in Venezuela and Cuba and screw those countries. But then now he's totally flipping and he's saying, no, I don't like it. I'm going to, and CNN had a whole mashup of all the times that Rubio said that he wanted to even fund USAID even more. So it's just worse shit. Like even the adults in the room are nowhere to be found.
Well, what they're going to do, to your point, is they're going to cut off all the good stuff, like medicine for kids, and they're going to keep doing the bad stuff after they change the name of the agency or rework the agency. But the slashing and burning that they're doing, this is Javier Milei type stuff.
Yes.
Javier Milei went in there and slashed all these government programs. The poverty rate in Argentina spiked to 53%. And this is who Elon Musk looks up to. This is what he wants to do. He wants to destroy the government and make it so that he and his robber baron buddies can loot the treasury and control all of it.
Can I just play this really interesting clip? Because it's a total Javier Mileiism. This is Trump talking about tariffs.
No, I'm not concerned. We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that. But long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world. We have deficits with almost every country. Not every country, but almost.
Okay. So
Musk
he
said
said
the same thing. Temporary hardship.
There's going to be pain. Mm-hmm. There's going to be pain. And it's like, and I lived in Argentina. I have to bring that up almost every show. But like, the United States is not Argentina. Okay, these are apples to oranges. I disagree with everything Javier Milei is doing, but they had a 26% inflation rate, like you went to the store and the next day it was, your money was not worth what it was. Like it was like exorbitant, right? That inflation rate is, and I live there, it's intolerable. So I understand at least them wanting to try something drastic. We have the strongest economy in the world. We're a hegemon economically. The dollar, for now, is strong. They want to, ruin it. But it's like, we don't have the Argentine peso. Like, everyone needs to calm down. Stop treating this country like it is some global south, like, oh, really unstable. It's not unstable. Actually, things are quite stable. It's Elon and Trump that are making it unstable.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They're going to make it unstable. And what they're doing is basically shock therapy. So this story came out earlier today from Newsweek. Donald Trump to sell off half of all federal property. Now, why would they do that? Because people hear that, oh, okay, so they're like small government ideologues. That's probably why they're doing it. That's only half the picture. Yes, they're anti-government fundamentalists, but the real reason why they do that, they want to do mass privatization looting. So what he'll do is sell these properties to his robber baron buddies and let them price gouge taxpayers to make billions of dollars. It's about getting a parasitic middleman in there that can skim off the top and make billions of dollars while sitting on their ass at Mar-a-Lago. That's the point. So everybody needs to understand this is organized, systemic, planned out corruption from the top down.
Yeah.
And everything they do needs to be viewed through that lens.
Yeah. I mean, it's crime. It's basically just, it's crime. It's criminal what they're doing. And okay, let's pivot because I do think, but it's related. There is another member of the DOGE team, another one of these, again, fuckable shits, let's go, who was fired from DOGE because of past racist posts. Oh, just things like, for the record, I was racist before it was cool. He posted in July. He also said, you could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity. And then he also said, normalize Indian hate. I believe this was on X. Normalize Indian hate. Now, the other thing you should know really quickly, let me bring this up, is that, hang on.
JD Vance, you're going to get to?
JD Vance had to weigh in on this because Elon is asking everybody, hey, should we rehire this guy, Elez, or what? I don't give a shit what his name is, because he was fired for all these racist things. JD Vance goes, here's my view. I obviously disagree with some of Elez's posts. Some of which ones? Which ones? Like, can you be more explicit?
What a weasel! Oh my god!
But I don't think stupid social media activity should ruin a kid's life. We shouldn't reward journalists who try to destroy people ever. So I say, bring him back. If he's a bad dude or a terrible member of the team, fire him for that. I mean, he's
a kid, but give him all the social security information, give him access to the Treasury. He's just a kid. Give him everybody's private data and let him hack around in our government agencies and cut out the funding he wants to. He's just a kid. This isn't like the fact that they are having this conversation, Kyle, while we know that tens of thousands of federal workers are losing their jobs and people are not getting their food, their vaccinations, their HIV meds. Like, this is the conversation they're having about this. I honestly, Kyle, I don't give a shit which Doge kid said what. None of them should be there. Like, that's also my view. It's like, so this is the conversation. And JD Vance's wife is Indian American. Bro, and his kids are Indian, bro. His kids are Indian. He is the biggest cuck on the planet Earth. He has surpassed Ted Cruz cuckery levels, where Donald Trump went after his wife and he still bent the knee and made the phone calls for him. Do you not have any dignity to, like? And Ro Khanna responded to him and said something because Ro Khanna's Indian. Ro Khanna's kids are Indian, right? And then JD responds and says, like, you disgust me. Oh, he disgusts you, not the person who said normalize Indian hate, who you just fucking defended because you're a little bitch. Oh my god, I can't stand these people. Oh my god,
crazy. Because if you bring up their family members, it's like, oh, how dare you? It's like, but we all kids. You're the one who. It's not like he doesn't invite Usha Vance to anything. We see her. You know what I'm saying? And this is not the first time that he has failed to defend Indian Americans and people of color.
Yeah, Laura Loomer. He did it with Laura Loomer too, right? Didn't he back down from some shit with Laura Loomer? Look, we have pilled up groypers hacking into the Treasury and deleting agencies on a whim. What are we talking about here?
But this is the thing that I wanted to ask you about, because as someone who started a show called Secular Talk, still runs it, like, we are living not only in this nightmare of, libertarian crypto fascists, but also in this Christian nationalist, dreamscape, right? Or hell world, where of course they're going after transgender people, and then they're saying, Ryan Duffy, head of transportation, is like, we're going to prioritize states that have higher birth rates. The fuck? Right? And then you have this outward and open racism, this Christian nationalism. Like, there's something so much deeper and sicker that is at play here.
Yeah. I mean, look, we need to call it what it is. MAGA at this point is a fascist cult. That's what it is. And there is no way around that now. Look, I was the guy the first term who was willing to say, not everybody voted for Trump because they're racist. Some of them heard the stuff he said on trade and thought, oh, maybe I'll support him for that. There was a long time where I was the one who was like, look, in some ways with some of these people, we can build bridges or whatever. Maybe we'll get a couple things done vis-a-vis trade. It is not 2017 anymore, people. Yeah. This is a fascist cult, right? And it only made it worse when Trump nearly got killed and that he became like a deity to these people. So now all logic is out the window. All reason is out the window. And all they do 24/7, wherever he goes, they will follow. And that's what we're witnessing now. Or he can contradict himself.
And it's deeply, and the other thing is, like, what I'm saying, like, it's deeply racist. Like, it is deeply
100%.
misogynistic. It's deeply hateful. And so for me, obviously, as a woman, as a person of color, like, the idea of, like, we could, come together on some issues. Like, I think a lot of us out here are like, hell no. Why would I have
Elon's a Nazi. Elon is a Nazi. Period. He did 2 Nazi salutes. There's nothing to get together with. By the way, even on areas where some people think, well, maybe on this economic thing. No, they don't even agree. They might lie and say that they don't agree. They don't agree. And I don't know how much more people need to see. Elon is a Nazi. He did multiple Nazi salutes. I mean, look at the stuff he was responding to anti-Semitic conspiracy theories on Twitter saying, you just told the actual truth about how Jews hate white people.
Yes, replacement theory. Great replacement theory. But here's my question, Kyle, because I think the reason that a lot of folks / people I used to respect, I think some people want to live in disbelief. It's harder to say, damn, real Nazis and people who admire Nazi parties are running the show right now. It's harder to say that because what does it mean, not only about this country? I think centrist Democrats have also a hard time saying it, because what does it mean about this country if that is in fact the case? Mainstream news has a hard time saying it because what does it mean? I mean, you said we've done everything in this country. We haven't quite done. There obviously was the Civil War. There was an attempted, takeover. There we had slavery. That was a white nationalist institution. But not the fascist takeover in this particular way. Like, I think maybe we're due. So I guess that is just something I wanted to, like, throw out there. Like, I used to talk to Van Jones back in the day. Van was one of the first people who was like, I'm going to work with Trump on prison reform. Remember he met with Jared Kushner, they got together, and this was like in those early days, same thing that you're saying. And in this last like lame duck period, a lot of the same people are like, maybe we can work with them. Maybe Bernie Sanders, I'm willing to work with Trump on X, Y, or Z. It's like, this guy is so unserious. And Van, honestly, he was able to gain minimal federal prison reform, but then it was like, door closed on the issue. And Trump continually said he had done more for the Black community than anybody else simply because of this one piece that, in my view, Van gave him the win on. Like, even when you do work to give Trump the win, why the fuck would we want to give Trump the win? I'd rather focus on electing more Dems or more getting rid of these Dems, fucking throwing down with another party. Like, I'm not interested in helping the right get a win. And honestly, like, I think that's an interesting, I don't know how you feel about that, but like, it helped some people, but it also closed the door on further prison reform.
If we lived in a world where all of the facts were different and these people actually believed in doing anything decent for the American people, then I would have no problem being like, yeah, work with them. Who cares who gets the credit or not? As long as we get something good done, that's fine. But I can't stress this enough. This is not the world we live in. We don't live in that world. Look, day one, Trump signed an executive order to raise drug prices. Like, what? Where's the debate? Where's the conversation? Day one, he signed an executive order, which I'm calling the fill the swamp executive order, because he said all of the anti-corruption rules that apply to my cabinet, throw them out. We don't want any anti-corruption rules. He pardoned 1,500 January 6ers, including ones who assaulted cops and including ones who are literal child sex offenders. What is there? There's nothing there. This is a different version of Trump. He committed 91 crimes and got away with all of them.
Yep.
That's a man who feels correctly the rules
Above
don't
the
apply to
law.
me. The Supreme
Absolutely.
Court said, yeah, as long as what you're doing, you just need to think it's official in your own mind, that it's an official act, and you can do it. And guess what? Now, this same guy just announced, we're sending 30,000 immigrants to Guantanamo Bay.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Go
I
ahead.
want to just play this clip real quick from Caroline Leavitt and talk a little bit about more, because there have been prisoners who've been transferred. Here we are.
No longer going to allow America to be a dumping ground for illegal criminals from nations all over this world. And so El Salvador has not just agreed to the repatriation of their own citizens, but also illegal criminals from other nations who will then be sent to their prisons. Venezuela as well has agreed to...
Nayib Bukele also agreed to accept U.S. citizens who are criminals to El Salvador. So just put a pin in that.
Repatriation flights, and Colombia also agreed to cooperate with the repatriation of illegal Colombian nationals that we have found in the interior of our country. And I can also confirm that today, the first flights from the United States to Guantanamo Bay with illegal migrants are underway. And so President Trump, Pete Hegseth, and Kristi Noem are already delivering on this promise to utilize that capacity at Gitmo for illegal criminals who have broken our nation's immigration laws and then have further committed heinous crimes against lawful American citizens.
Okay, so obviously none of that is proven, and yet that is true, that 10 migrants have been sent to Guantanamo who are now being held in cells that used to hold Al-Qaeda suspects. Now, I'm someone, as I don't think that people should have been held in Guantanamo without charges for decades and decades and decades. Everyone is entitled to due process. So for me, I'm like, yeah, Al-Qaeda suspects should also not have been treated that way. But holy shit, Kyle. Like, 10 men sent to the prison base. There's a picture of a cell that used to hold Al-Qaeda. They are presumed to be members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua.
Nonsense. Not true. No, it's not true. Look, I'll put this very simply for people. This is fascism. What we're looking at right now, 100% is fascism. There's no way around it. The whole point of Guantanamo Bay is that it's an extrajudicial prison, which means no due process, no habeas corpus, no recourse. They don't care what your side of the story is. There's no hearing. Your ass gets thrown in a dark cell and you have to stay there, full stop, period. And even back when it was George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, it was always alleged terrorists.
Yep.
Well, guess what? We learned not that long after, the overwhelming majority of the people that they arrested were totally innocent. One of the first stories I ever covered was about a guy by the name of Murat Kurnaz, who's a German citizen who was arrested in Pakistan on a bus, brought all the way to Guantanamo Bay, and then the government of Germany had to say, hey, George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, what are you doing? This is one of our citizens. They didn't do anything wrong. There's no evidence of any wrongdoing.
Yep.
So that was when it was alleged terrorists. It wasn't that. That's fascism as well. Now he's gone above and beyond where you're going to arrest people on U.S. soil, who, by the way, once you're on U.S. soil, you have rights, period. That's how it works legally. You have rights.
Yeah.
You get due process, all that stuff. You have a right to all of that stuff. And guess what? We just learned last week, one of the people that ICE arrested and is about to deport is a middle school teacher from Miami-Dade who is a dreamer who was brought here as a kid. They arrested a Puerto Rican family, including a toddler. They arrested a U.S. veteran in Newark, New Jersey. People are now deputizing themselves as part of ICE. Like, we are so far beyond even the Twilight Zone. And the idea of sending them to El Salvador, that is wildly illegal and unconstitutional. Absolutely. So the fact that this isn't a bigger story, the fact that more people aren't talking about this, and the fact that everybody doesn't draw a hard line and say, we literally can't do this. This is insane. We are a rogue nation. Any reasonable country would look at us now and say, we should do regime change there because look at how they're acting. It just blows my mind.
No, absolutely. And I think the other thing is like we've allowed ourselves, I think mainstream news has also helped in this, dehumanize
100%.
immigrants. Dehumanize immigrants to the point where, like, I didn't see, the New York Times did one piece pushing back on the cats and dogs and talking about Haitian migrants in Springfield, for example. That was one piece. It was weeks later. Where's the camera crews? Where are the people talking about, like, the teachers who have DACA? Like, right now, they should be out there speaking. I mean, obviously, nobody wants to, like, out themselves, and the fear is real, obviously is very real. But there's 500,000 DACA recipients. Like, my friends are DACA recipients. What the fuck? Like, what is going to happen to them? They were promised by the US government that this would be a pathway, that they would be safe. They would give their information. That's the whole point of seeking asylum, of seeking refuge, of being a refugee, of coming to this country and wanting to either do it right or at least say, I'm going to register myself, living here undocumented, but you have my information. Like, it is to say, like, so long as I'm, abiding by laws / paying a bunch of money into a social security fund I'll never see the, benefits of, this is not a crime to live here, right? It's not a crime. So obviously this administration doesn't see it that way. And Kyle, any dimwit, I'm sorry, who thought that this wasn't the ultimate goal, like, I mean, you should really not be in the news space at all. Like, there's no way that we all know that this was happening. We all knew that undocumented equals criminal. It doesn't matter whether anyone actually committed a crime, to say nothing of the fact that undocumented people commit far fewer crimes than American citizens. So yeah, this is a huge story. And the other thing that, maybe who it is, but apparently there's word that inside the Trump administration, there are people who, like, loved the Japanese internment as well.
Stephen Miller. It's got to be Stephen Miller.
Be right. So, and these are the things where it's like, I mean, I felt like Gaza brought this up for me, where everyone, was suddenly talking about, like, World War II and, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. And it was like, well, we had to do it. And I was like, wait, hang on, time out. Wait, do people think that dropping the A-bomb is justified? Given that we knew Japan was going to surrender, given the, millions of lives lost, like, what the fuck? And then now you're like, oh, no, we're in that upside down where people are now like, actually, Japanese internment was a good thing. Despite all of what we have learned, the horrors, the atrocities, the survivors of it. But under the Alien Enemies Act, which Donald Trump has invoked by executive order, he allows this. Wartime authority allows the president to detain or deport natives and citizens of an enemy nation. The Alien Enemies Act has been invoked just 3 times in American history: War of 1812, World War I, World War II. Obviously best known for incarcerating Japanese people during World War II, provides sweeping powers to detain or deport foreign nationals, and is ripe for abuse. I mean, the fact that we even have this on the books. So it's like, again, it is not hyperbole to say that these are mass detention centers, gulags, whatever you want, that this is a threat. And just today, what is it? Some news channels being investigated for their coverage of Trump, some from radio.
Yeah, San Francisco radio station. The FCC is investigating them because they didn't like how they covered immigration. So look, it's a war on the First Amendment. It's a war on the Constitution. When it comes to it, there is no more international law anymore. This is a part that is genuinely chilling to me. And it all started with the genocide in Gaza that we've been witnessing. And then now Trump is already taking international law, which is laying on the ground, bleeding out of its nose, semi-conscious. He's taking a shotgun directly to its face when he comes out and says, oh, we're going to take over Gaza. We're going to own Gaza and we're going to develop it. And man, they have some beautiful beachfront property. And we could build some hotels there and stuff. What we're looking at right now, everybody needs to realize we rolled back the clock to the 1800s, and we're living in a situation where international law is fake. There is no international law. The UN is now officially like the League of Nations, where Trump just came out today and said we're sanctioning the ICC because they issued an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yep.
And it's like, how many schools did Israel bomb? How many hospitals did they bomb? How many aid workers did they attack? How many World Central Kitchen workers did they attack? How many kids got sniped directly in the face?
Yes.
Like, how many concentration camps did they set up? And they look at all of that and they go, great. We have the biggest military, so we can do whatever the hell we want, and everybody can shut up and or complain about it, but nothing's going to change, and we're going to do what we want. So it really is a war on the notion of human rights, the notion of international law, and what we're witnessing is an outright assault on everything that we hold dear, right?
Yep.
Every single thing we hold dear, and that now includes, and this is the first time it's ever been in our lifetimes, now that includes even trying to roll back the few social safety net programs that we have, which have remained in place since the New Deal. Now they're even coming after those. So it's
You think
this is it, guys.
But let's put a pin in that, because I do want to talk to you about that before we get there's, I do just want to name that, like, myself and Cenk Uygur had disagreements about these, mass detention centers. Anna actually on a recent TYT program said that I was wrong and freaking out because actually Guantanamo has historically held immigrants and migrants, and this has been done before. This is from a Slate article. Exactly. So
go ahead. You explain it. Go ahead.
But no, so the Slate article goes into it, but basically Clinton did build a mass detention facility for 12,500 inmates in Guantanamo Bay. The detention center operated for 3 years, was eventually closed under great political pressure, not without first subjecting thousands of people to deplorable conditions, being housed in makeshift barracks with windows covered by taped garbage bags, fed rotten food, sometimes infested with maggots. Now, that was obviously bad. The idea at that point was to turn Guantanamo into kind of an Ellis Island type midway point for people to have their immigration cases processed.
So in other words, it was not indefinite. And it was also for specifically Cuban and Haitian migrants who were caught on the open sea in international waters.
Exactly.
Very different. I disagree with it. I oppose it completely. But to pretend that that's the same as what we're witnessing now, where it's take them on American soil where they have rights and that's guaranteed, and to indefinitely keep them there, that is totally different. That's an order of magnitude worse.
Right. But again, I'm like, somehow I'm supposed to go back and be like, well, Clinton also did this. I hate whataboutism. I hate when anyone does whataboutism. It's the worst.
Both sidesism is going to be the death of this country. False equivalence is going to be the death of in the year of our Lord 2025. I can't say this clearly enough. In the year of our Lord 2025, if you're still doing, but the Democrats, just you're
Back
done.
it in.
You're done. Pack it up. Washed. Shaq on the Celtics. Washed.
The problem I have with that, the only time I want to say that is that Biden on Israel and Gaza and Biden on the border really didn't walk us back from a lot of the Trump's first term policies. So it's not whataboutism, but it's like, man, we had a chance to do so much better on these issues. And yet, the ACLU also sued Biden for not allowing asylum seekers into this country. And Biden didn't move back the, embassy from Jerusalem back to Tel Aviv in Israel. So like, these are the issues that the Democratic Party has been willing to go so far to the right on, Kyle. And this is my worry, because we're in a moment now where we're asking Dems and more broadly everybody. The only people really fighting, honestly, are like young people of color are in the streets against ICE because they know what's up and they're always right. Just like they were in the streets against Palestine. I mean, for Palestine. But like, my worry is that we've poison pilled this country's psyche around immigrants and around these issues to the point where it's like, I don't know. I do fault Democrats for this point we're in. In fact, every morning I get up, Kyle, very, very angry at Democrats for walking us back into the jaws of Donald Trump.
Well, you've heard of the ratchet effect, right? The idea that Republicans take us super far right and then Democrats sort of like keep us there, right?
Yes.
And there's certainly an element of truth to that. But I honestly think we are witnessing a mass awakening right now at the grassroots level.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen this, but from my perspective, the day that Joe and Mika on MSNBC said they met with Donald Trump and had lunch with him, like they lost like 50 or 60% of their audience like that.
Yeah.
And my channel is witnessing, and many others, I'm sure yours included, there are these MSNBC refugees
Yeah.
who are now looking for answers. And guess what? The left provides actual answers. And
Yeah.
if you're looking for somebody, their whole bread and butter is resist Trump, right? That's all they care about. Well, not only are we going to resist Trump, we're going to resist him way better than the centrists are. And also,
Yes.
we have an ideological vision and a philosophy that we're fighting for. We
Yes.
are fighting for universal healthcare. We are fighting for ending the corruption. We are fighting for higher wages. We are fighting for unionization. We are fighting for a 4-day work week. We are fighting for civil rights for all. Like, so there's a mass awakening at the grassroots level. And what you even see this pressure now coming through in very tangible ways, where for a while early on, a lot of these Democratic politicians were just like 10 or 12 of them in the Senate would always vote for whoever the Trump pick was.
Mm-hmm.
That just stopped with Russ Vought.
Yes,
Why?
it did. Yeah.
Because all of these Democratic senators and Democratic Congresspeople, they've gotten a flood, a torrent of angry phone calls where people are like, bitch, you better fall the fuck back. And I don't know what you think you're doing.
Yeah.
You resisted in 2017. We want you to quadruple that today, not bend the knee.
Well, that's the thing. That's the reason we're in the state we're in, because Scott Bessent, or Bessent, however you say his stupid ass name, head of the Treasury, was confirmed by 15 Democratic senators: Kirsten Gillibrand, Cory Booker, Alyssa Slotkin. And
Rubio got unanimous support.
Exactly. So, but it's like, Rubio, okay, fine, whatever. He's been your friend. He's been there. But you're going to nominate some fucking crazy person who just handed the keys over to DOGE? It's very annoying. And so to your point, like, I was tuning in a little to like Pod Save America, and like, you know, they were doing live coverage for the Democrats who were trying to block the Russell vote, which they didn't actually do. They could have done more. They didn't. And good thing they didn't vote for him. That was something. But it's like they had Slotkin on. They had, what is it, Warner on, I think, who I can't remember, some other guy who voted for this guy Scott Bessent, and they didn't ask him. It's like, don't be chummy with these people. I hate the chumminess, and that's the other thing. It's like, yeah, but the chumminess gets you access. But they need to be okay with going on, but they're not going on platforms where people are going to challenge them, going on outlets where people are going to actually ask them real questions. Why did you vote to confirm the Treasury Secretary when he then handed the keys over to Elon? So I feel you in terms of the refugees from all these sort of like centrist, outlets, and the fact that we do have the answers. That's why I've always said, like, the people who really take Trump seriously are the leftists, in my opinion, and
Correct.
The people who are who are the real anti-fascists, the people on the street. Antifa takes Trump more seriously than the Democrats. Oh, Antifa, they're criminals, they're terrible. No. They take it very seriously because they've fought Nazis, white supremacists for decades on the streets. They see what they look like. They see what they do. They see the way the cops protect them. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it's just and that's how I feel about Gaza. Like, Gaza, we were the ones, the people on the streets, the people saying, change course on this or you will lose. Not only it's morally reprehensible, but you will lose. We vote because Trump is coming, because you can't lose to this guy. Meanwhile, all these centrists are like, no, how does it feel now to have Trump in here wanting to turn Gaza into a condo? And you're like, terrible. Thanks for blaming, people who didn't want genocide.
The good news is most of the liberals that I've seen are now Luigi posting and are now calling Netanyahu a war criminal.
Totally.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I saw those fights that you're referring to. There was a handful of resistance liberal Democratic accounts that were like, blame Dearborn, Michigan and stuff like that.
Right.
But the torrent of a reaction to them was overwhelming, where it was like 100-1, people being like, shut the fuck up, bitch. And then the other part is most of the other liberals I'm seeing are just, they are Luigi posting. They are saying Netanyahu's a war. They are waking up to this reality. So at the grassroots level, something is genuinely and sincerely happening at the grassroots level, where the person who's going to, for the first time in my lifetime now, liberals distrust mainstream media.
Yeah.
They don't agree. They don't like mainstream media anymore. And guess what? That's what happened with the right. They distrusted mainstream media, and then Trump came out of that. For the first time in our lives, we're going to have a race, a primary, where the most anti-establishment, the biggest outsider who can say the most true things, be the most anti-Trump, come up with the best solutions, they have a real chance at winning. They'll probably will win.
There's going to be like 25. There's going to be like 70 candidates.
Exactly. And the rando Democratic politicians who voted for 3 or 4 of Trump's cabinet picks, they have zero chance.
They're
They are done skis. It's over because they misread the moment. They looked at Trump winning the popular vote by 1.5 percentage points.
Yes.
And they were like, oh my God, this is like FDR winning 4 times in a row. Oh my God, this is like Reagan winning 48 out of 50 states. And they really felt like, we got to bend the knee a little bit. We got to semi-capitulate. That's how they felt. But they're in their Washington, D.C. bubble. What they didn't realize is, no, the grassroots, first of all, Trump's going to be insanely unhinged. And everything he's going to do is going to make it impossible for you to work with him. Number 2, the grassroots is screaming at you. No, you got to go in the other direction, bro. And now I think many of them are waking up. You're not going to see nearly as many Fettermans now.
Yes, I really appreciate this because I think we need that optimism. And I think you're right on the money. And I get fixated on the rifts on our side, but I think that's the wrong way to look at it. And I also get fixated on, Senate Democrats not doing anything or not doing nearly enough. And I get cynical, but I really appreciate what you're saying because I think it's true. The Luigi posting, the like, and I also, you know what, Kyle, I saw it happen during Biden's administration, specifically when Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin consistently didn't get in line, weren't able to, caucus with the Dems, fucking destroyed Build Back Better, and Biden allowed him to do it. And you could feel libs who were so excited about having defeated Trump and were so excited about this majority in the Senate. We're like, it's our side. It's us. We have to be better. Like, oh my God, we're electing these people who keep on undermining us.
That's right. We need to bring back the term dino. The right throws that around like nothing. For if you disagree with Trump 1%, you're rhino. You're rhino. You're not in our club. You're on the other side. It's the same for us. Like I sense it among the leftists. I sense it among the liberals. The argument should be no, to actually truly be a Democrat, you have to oppose the genocide in Gaza. You have to oppose the fascism at the border and the Guantanamo Bay stuff. You have to be for universal health care. You have to actually have a vision and fight for it. And I genuinely and sincerely feel that out there now, where there's like something in the liberal mind snapped when Trump won again.
Yeah.
Something snapped.
Well,
and
speaking of that,
it's time to wake up.
Well, not everyone is awake. Before I let you go, I did just want to ask you about this to piggyback off of the Guantanamo stuff and some of the disagreements I had with Jank about it. Cenk Uygur of TYT is now tweeting that he is going to go to Dallas right now. This was last night to talk to Dr. Phil and James Poulos on the Blaze. You know why? Because we need to talk to each other and begin to understand each other. The powerful have driven a wedge.
Oh, I understand the right. I understand them. I certainly understand them.
Now, I read this that was like, I don't know how this is going to turn out, Kyle, but this is the kind of stuff that makes me want to die inside. Look, it's okay to talk to the right. You and I have been on Piers Morgan. We've debated, obviously, Cenk goes on Piers Morgan all the time, but like the idea that we're going to sit down and be like, how can we come together to decide who to deport and who not to deport? This is such a waste of time. And he's doing it. I feel like Cenk is doing this to troll people who, again, because Cenk always says, oh, you're calling them Nazis, which we did. We earlier were just like talking about how Elon Musk is a fucking Nazi.
Because he did a Nazi salute multiple times and he tweeted openly anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. This doesn't come out of nowhere. Lefties don't wake up out of bed and go, let me call everybody a Nazi. No, it's, there is evidence of Nazism. You are a Nazi. That's how that works.
But where's that gotten us, Kyle? Where's that gotten us?
No, I got a lot to say about this because I had the philosophy of build bridges, change minds, hold their hands and walk them through it. I'm the guy that had that philosophy and embodied it the first term of Trump in 2016. I'm the guy who was on Joe Rogan's show 5 or 6 times, holding his hand like a fucking toddler and walking him through basic left-wing arguments. I was the reach across the aisle guy, right? You know what that got me? fucking Joe Rogan endorsing Donald Trump, having him on his podcast and letting him lie to his face repeatedly for 3 hours straight, where he said things like, I never said lock her up about Hillary Clinton. I never said that. It was other people that said that.
Like, even Rogan knows how to fact check that one. Like, even Rogan knows that
he didn't. He actually didn't.
Right, exactly.
So I understand the mindset. I understand where he's coming from. But bro, at some point, you have to stop pretending like we're having reasonable disagreements. These are not reasonable. It's not interesting to debate whether or not it was a good idea for Trump to sign an executive order that raises drug prices, or whether or not it was a good idea for him to sign an executive order that filled the swamp and said, all my cabinet, no more anti-corruption rules for them. It's not reasonable to say 1,500 January 6ers were pardoned, including violent ones, including ones that assaulted cops, including ones that diddle kids. Like, it's not
right.
To sit across from these people and basically give them it gives them cover. It gives them cover to pretend, oh, yes, I'm one of the good ones on the left, and I'm having a reasonable conversation with you. The reasonable conversation is not a conversation. It's a debate where you pummel them into the ground repeatedly.
Exactly. And they respect you for that. I do think that they respect you for that. When you can actually win the debate, or in my case, just kind of like make fun of them and dunk on them, there is a little bit more respect than someone who's kind of like, just like, hey, why can't we meet their side truly thinks that, like, yeah, me, who said Pete Hegseth is a rapist, should be like, sued for defamation, right? Or that I should be taken off of YouTube or whatever the hell else. Like, and we will see that happen in due time. But that's the question. I mean, I think it's really big of you because, look, I know a lot of stand-up comics who would love to go on Rogan. I always make fun of it because my husband Matt's a stand-up, and I'm like, you would totally throw me under the bus to go on Rogan. Like, I always make fun of him because Rogan's a huge deal. Once you get on Rogan, people start paying attention to your stand-up. They might see you. And same thing with if you're a political commentator. If you go on Rogan, like, that's massive. And so, and I really think it is a testament to your character, having not known you really, but the fact that you're like, I tried this, I was wrong, because you could have easily just played into more of the Rogan game and told him what he wanted to hear and kept on getting invited back. And then, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, the only way to get invited back is to tell them what they want to hear.
Yes. And here's the thing. I have personal experience with this where I went on the PBD podcast a few years back now. And when I went on the PBD podcast, I went in there more with the mindset of, I'm not really going to hold their hand. I'll explain things as clearly as I can, but I'm going to be clear in what I'm saying, right?
Sure.
When I did that, you read the comments on that video, and it's people going, holy shit, he torched you for 2 hours straight, right? Compared to how I was with Rogan, where I hold his hand and walk him, I don't think I was changing any minds, right? And so here's what people need to understand, and Trump is the best example of this. How did Donald Trump win? If you disagree with him 1%, he would behead you and hold it up and say, anybody who crosses me even a little bit, you're donezo. It's over. It's a wrap. So, but on the left, for some reason, and among a lot of liberals, there's this weird thing. Oh, we got to be the bigger people. We got to meet them halfway. We got to do this. It's like, no, tell the truth unapologetically and aggressively and confidently, and let the chips fall where they may. And some people you're going to convince, some people you're not going to convince, but that's okay. You're going to get more of them by aggressively telling the truth than you are by pretending like there's reasonable disagreements where there are no reasonable disagreements. Guys, the Elon thing is like, this is just a perfect example of it. The Elon thing is insane. This guy is illegally hacking into the Treasury. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Congress has the power of the purse. They pass something, the president signs it. It goes to the Treasury. That's it. There is nobody on the back end that, oh, okay, let me mess with this. I want to cancel that and cut off this payment. That's not how it works. What am I going to gain by sitting across from a right winger and go, oh, Elon sure is interested in cutting waste. There sure are some things that he cut which made sense for him to cut. Like, no. We're not fucking playing this game. I'm not fucking dumbing myself down in order to try to be one of the good ones with your fucking audience.
You know what it does? You know what I think it does, actually, speaking of just like the election breaking some people's brains, is I think that it's again, when you've done this for so long and our side gets very, very tired of losing, the only thing you feel like you can change is your own perception. And the only feeling you can change is maybe your own positions. And suddenly you don't feel like a loser. I mean, Kamala Harris lost the election. Progress was lost. I mean, in that moment, and the small gains of the Biden administration were totally tanked, right? From the NLRB wins to Lena Khan to the Inflation Reduction Act, all of it gutted. I remember in the moment we were like, oh, I wonder if they'll leave the Inflation Reduction Act because it really helps a lot of red states. It's all gone. They're gonna completely, or at least they're trying to. It's not legal, but they're trying to rescind, all of the money that was allocated for it. So that's the thing is, like, I think it comes from this place of not having a long view of like movement struggle and how shit has ever changed in this country, and being like, well, maybe it's not a loss if we come together and agree that, like, we need term limits, or like, we need to prevent the revolving door, as if they would ever agree to stop the revolving door between, Congress and the private sector. But yeah.
So let me just say, because you're making a great point. They had the opposite evolution of me, because in 2016, they really were all about the no. We are leading the resistance. We are like the front of the resistance, right?
Do you mean TYT? You mean
TYT,
Anna and Jank? Yeah.
So from their perspective, they felt like, hey, we tried the super resistance thing and we feel like that didn't work. So now I'm going to try to, maybe I'll meet you halfway and get more bees with honey, or whatever that fucking saying is. I don't know if I got it right.
Yeah.
That's their perspective. But look, what I would say in response to that is, I disagreed with some ways they went about the resistance in 2016. I wasn't on board with all the Russiagate stuff. But having said that, Trump lost in 2020. He actually lost. Mm-hmm. And so maybe that, like, over the top, like, nah, fuck this guy, it's illegitimate, fuck him and the horse he rode in on, that actually kind of worked. The fact that the carcass Joe Biden was able to get dragged across the finish line to beat Trump, it's like, maybe there actually is something to be said about the aggressive, over the top, we're taking no shit, we're taking no prisoners, that reaction. And now I just feel like it's even more necessary than it was the first term, because he's way more unhinged, more. There are no more guardrails, guys. They're gone. There are no Mark Millies to say, sir, you can't shoot the protesters in the leg. Right. That's not a good idea. That's gone. So now more than ever, we need everybody to speak up. We need everybody to be leading this charge. There are no more middle ground. It really is a which side are you on moment. It really is. Just like they say when it comes to labor and unions, which side are you on? Are you with the bosses or are you with us? Which side are you on? Are you with the fascists or are you against the fascists? It's really that simple.
Are you with the bosses too? These are the bosses.
Right,
it's all about workers' rights. And again, right now, they might be attacking communities you're not from. They might be attacking undocumented people who are DACA recipients, trans people. But it is all an effort to roll back any gains that have been made for all people, for all civil rights.
The NLRB. The CFPB, these are two incredibly important agencies which have already been destroyed by them. Forget union organizing now. They just destroyed that, right? Like, forget the anti-scam police, which is what the CFPB is. They destroyed that. This is an agency that returned $19 billion to Americans who were defrauded by financial institutions. Now Trump and Elon are saying, do more fraud. We love fraud. So everybody is being impacted. Everybody, even the conservative Republicans who may have loved Trump. Guess what? Your rural health clinic just got its fucking funding cut. Right? So maybe don't support him.
You know what I think? Lastly on Rogan, and then I'll let you go. Lastly on Rogan, and this is just like an aside that I was thinking of. I'm someone who thinks that we need to stand up for trans people. I'm abhorred
100%,
by
100%.
Yeah, I think that this executive order preventing trans athletes from participating in, categories of their gender. It's just like so unnecessary, so ridiculous, and also dehumanizing. And it's like this, what they're doing to trans people is a model for what they are going to do to every other, and are doing to every other minority group in this country. But Rogan is an interesting example because Rogan was one of those commentators that was like, it's not right, it's weird, and he initially sort of, I remember speaking to a comic years ago who was like, I listen to Rogan a lot, and then was like, yeah, I don't know, but these like sex change surgeries and all the things that they're doing. And he was very much like, sort of lured in by that line, that anti-trans line. And I don't know if that was around the same time you were talking to him. And I'm not trying to like go back and like be like, you shouldn't have, but it is interesting the way that like if we permit, this kind of dehumanization on some groups of us, because we're trying to find common ground with the rest of it, it's like ultimately like that was just a canary in the coal mine situation of how they feel or what the political movement that they support, how that political movement views the rest of us. You know what I mean? Like we cannot sell one group of us short or sacrifice one portion of American society, because that is just like, oh, you let us do that to those people? Cool. We're coming for these other people, and now you.
100%. I could not agree more. We need a full court press on every issue. I'm not giving a fucking inch. I love the idea that people think like, oh, if Democrats came out and said, well, I'm not for those extreme pro-trans policies. The idea that would have like changed anything in terms of the electoral results is ridiculous. Donald Trump was on stage talking about Arnold Palmer's cock, talking about immigrants eating cats and dogs. Total lies. He did fellatio on a microphone at one point in one of his rallies a couple days before the election. So let me get this straight. He can get away with doing all of that and getting elected. But Democrats can't say, you know what? I'm in favor of the trans community. Suck it. I believe in freedom.
Exactly.
It's absurd. And by the way, to your point, this is mission creep. This is what they're doing is mission creep. In fact, Trump already signed an executive order. I think it's going to get slapped down in court if it didn't already. But he signed an executive order that says we are banning trans healthcare for people 19 years old and under.
Yes.
That's what he did.
It's being sued, yeah.
And so guess what, guys? That means a lot of people, their lives just got objectively worse, and these people are in danger. It hurts their mental health colossally. We're talking, by the way, the numbers we're talking about here too, by the way, I actually covered the numbers on my show a number of times. It's only like 4,000, kids or younger. And in every single example, they went to therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists, and their parents were involved, and they tried different avenues. And then finally, when the medical professional says, you know what, hormone treatment is for you, right? Yeah. Like the idea,
and it's like
there's no process,
five out of every 100,000. There was like some ABC study recently where they it was like 5 million children, and it was like less than 1,000 had ever received hormone,
correct,
gender affirming care in the form of hormones and whatnot.
Yeah, correct. And you're just so what you're doing effectively, in reality, what you're doing here is you are banning healthcare treatment for these people. You're saying it's the equivalent of saying like, oh, we're not going to allow, this person has strep throat, but the government has banned me from giving them penicillin.
Right.
So, well, what? It is legitimate healthcare. This is what people need to understand.
And it's also children's right. As someone for the right to like screech about children and protecting children, it's bullshit, because it's the same way they talk about
protecting
women.
Children. Being pro-trans is protecting children.
Exactly. Because you're like,
they have
children
gender
have
dysphoria.
rights. Children have rights. I think that's just the point. It's like children have rights. Their families have rights. You're obsessed with parental rights. What about the rights of those trans kids and their parents? Friends of mine. Like, you're just like, I look at my 2-year-old and I think, like the other day, yesterday, I was just feeling so awful, because I was like, if she grows up and is trans, and I wasn't able to help her, you know what I mean? And I was able, and school and the government and everyone around her was telling her that she was, she shouldn't exist, that she's an, abnormality, that she, whatever it is, like, how horrible would that feel? How horrible would that feel to say that this person's existence is not valid? And if that's your fucking child, I'm just like, I can't.
And that what you're saying proves that the right-wing idea that like, oh, this is just a fad, they're just doing it to like be cool or fit in or whatever. It's like, really? Are you going to go take puberty blockers, and are you going to go take hormones because you're trying to fit in with Dave at the fucking lunch table? Like,
but these are people who never listen to their kids. They don't listen to their kids. They don't raise their kids. They don't talk to their kids. They don't talk to kids. They don't care what kids have to say. They think it's weird, so you have to fall in line.
Yeah, they think it's, in their mind, they think this is degeneracy. This is like a war on God's creation. And it's like, you know what? This is exactly what they fucking said about gay people. Literally exactly the same thing. So, I mean, it's just spare me with this shit. They are one of the first to get thrown under the bus. And the idea that you do let's meet them halfway. Like, by the way, there's like fucking 10 trans athletes in the whole country. And you did a whole fucking signing ceremony and signed something to go like this to 10 poor trans kids?
Exactly.
Fuck out of here.
Exactly. Well, not to make this all about Cenk, but he has also said that he doesn't believe in, at the college level that trans people should compete. So I'm excited for this war on trans people to end, because I think in his mind, once we give the win and ban college athletes, trans athletes, at the college level and above, then the right doesn't want any more. Then they're fine. They're
right,
like
yeah.
cool with it.
Meanwhile, they literally already went further with Trump's executive order to ban trans healthcare. And by the way, the way that he's trying to enforce that is to say a lot of hospitals, a lot of health clinics get federal funding. And so what he's saying is we are going to cut off that federal funding unless you don't offer any trans healthcare for people. And by the way, 19 and younger too. Where the fuck did you pull 19 from? Like what is that? What are you talking? That's you just fucking made that up.
Yes.
You just made that up. So they're already
exactly.
going for, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. They're going to go after gay marriage too. They want to go after gay marriage.
Yeah. Well, and that's 19 is very important because I think trans people who've been on the forefront of this fight are like, it's not just about children. It's about trans affirming care writ large.
There's already a war on trans affirming care for everybody in red states. In some red states, they've made it more difficult. They've put more hurdles in the way for trans adults to get the healthcare. It used to be you can go to a nurse practitioner and get diagnosed and get your. Now you have to go to a primary care physician. Yes, the goal is. We don't like it. It's degeneracy. It's a war on God's creation. Therefore, we're trying to ban it. It stems from that religious fundamentalism.
In sports. They really believe in women's sports, Kyle.
Oh, yeah. Talk to a conservative 5 years ago about women's sports, and the reaction you'll get is they fucking laugh in your face and say women shouldn't even be playing sports, right? So, I mean, at every aspect, we need a war on every single thing they're doing. These people are wrong. They're fascist. They're demonic. We need to be accurate about that and straightforward about that because it's time to stop, beating around the bush here. It's time to get to the core of it. And the person who's going to win in 2028 is going to be a leader on these things. They're going to lead. They're going to not be afraid to say the thing. Oh, did you piss off the right with that? Like, fuck off. I don't care. We're going to get people to our side by making the case and making it straightforwardly.
Absolutely. Kyle Kulinski, everybody, youtube.com/secular talk, I believe you're at.
Yep.
And you can also listen as a podcast.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And then Krystal and Kyle and Friends. How often do you guys record that?
Once a week. We do interviews once a week. We'll get you on soon too.
Oh, hell yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time. Have as good of a weekend as you possibly can.
Thanks, you too. I know it's not easy, but we'll keep fighting. That's how it
will.
Works.
We'll talk soon. Thanks so much for being on. Oh my God. Some people are switched on. I wish I was that switched on. You ever feel like you're anyway. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. I want to read some comments real quick. And thank you all for your, oh my God, people are being so happy and loving in the in the gifting of memberships. Rochelle Van gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Q Peterson also gifted 5 memberships. Everybody gobble those up and get access to that Wednesday bonus show with Rob and DG Kelly. Thank you, Cod Sterling, for becoming a member. Also, Rike says, definitely just bought a Bitchuation Room t-shirt to represent. Woohoo, union made. Thank you, Franny. Added patches and pins to your merch, please. Okay. Or P.S. I do want to add patches and pins and hats. I just found a really cute hat model that I like. But again, it's all union made. It's got the union bug, and not every progressive show can claim that. And I just want to say that. No shade, but that's why shirts usually like 25. My shirts are like 35. But again, made in the US, union made, good shit, good quality, and great designs. And so I want to do a hat, and yeah, a patch would be very dope. Thanks so much for doing that. Benjamin Morrill gave out 5 subs. Thanks so much. That's so generous of you. Ruby Montana became a member. Welcome. Kathy McIntyre has been a member for 10 months. Welcome, Kathy, or continue to be welcome. Benjamin says, at the 50501s, we didn't have any good slogans to all get behind since we're attacked from every direction. We need an encompassing fuck off type of slogan. Good people are fighting. Slogans are really important. I think it's oftentimes there need to be young people involved. So just make sure there's enough young bloods in your crew. When we were like protesting the Iraq War, we did a lot of fun, like versions of pop songs. I can't remember them all, but there was like a ludicrous remix against the Bush administration, which is really funny because Rob and DG Kelly on Wednesday, we were talking about like protesting back in the early 2000s and how like back then under Bush, it didn't feel like we were in a fascist country. One of the slogans that you'll always hear is, no Bush, no KKK, no fascist USA. And whenever I would say that in, the year 2003, when I was on the streets and stuff, I'd be like, I feel like this is like a little too much. Like Bush is not really KKK. Bush is not really I mean, it's fascistic and he's a warmonger, but I don't know. Now it's like, oh no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. Like that works. So if you want to use that, you could say, I mean, Elon can be a very fun, or Musk is a very fun. I'll get back to you. We'll workshop this. Rike, no, sorry, I read that. Colin O'Connor, thanks for your super chat. Says watching from Vietnam. Oh my God, the top country I want to visit. Been a fan of the show for 4 years now. Love your work, Fran. The fart song is still hard to listen to. Love Kyle too. He's so awesome. He's on with you. Yeah, I apologize that the fart song is hard to listen to. I'm open for other song suggestions, but I have other people who really like the fart song. So, Robert says, does Elon already have a signed pardon waiting to be dated? This is government as an Elon Trump mafia bust out, run to the ground, and profit off the debt. 100%. It's like, that's the other thing. It's like, this country it's still working. Like, it's their private equity firming the United States of America. They're taking something that is good, like Red Lobster, or I don't know, Toys R Us, or any of the other things we used to love. Wasn't really a big Red Lobster person, but you know what I'm saying? They're going in there, they're gutting it, they're hollowing it out, they're firing everybody, and they're replacing all the managers with people who have no idea how to run shit. And that's what they're doing to the US government. And that's the other thing is is there a union rep that we can speak to? Is there, what's going on? This is, working class against the boss class. Oddly Magical Brandy says government employees are scared and confused, which allows Elon to leverage fear of Trump to create the space to operate before he can be stopped. Exactly. It's the flood the zone fear. It's relying on everyone to be so frozen rather than, again, get your chance out, make those signs, keep making those calls. Again, those calls really do matter. And also just make a plan with a small crew that's around you, something you want to plug into. Students are also, I love supporting students and young people. So and they always have some of the most exciting, thoughtful, funny, colorful demos. So plug into wherever the young people are at in your area. Zane the Magic Puffer Dragon, Elon isn't even a citizen. For fuck's sake. Hey, Francesca, see you on the 19th. And hey, Kyle, love your work so much and that you're always ad free. I know. I'm sorry about the ads. But yes, February 19th in Pasadena, the Ice House, 7:30 p.m. You can get tickets, francescafiorentini.com, or probably in the description below. Got more stand-up, more comics that you know and love. Cod said, bye to TYT after how Jenk and Anna acted towards you. Appreciate you, Francesca. I like that you talk about yourself in the third person. I mean, I just can't, I can't forgive this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's not personality, it's policy. Chris Huggy said, the Vanguard guys are impressed with you. They're covering you in their show. Would love it if you were a guest on their show. Yes, that will definitely happen. And the anti-corporatist, Kyle should get a vape that's faux cigar with a tip that glows when he hits it like it's lit. Yes, Kyle was vaping. Melody Moonfire, thank you so much. Good work. Great work, Fran. Thank you for the super chat. Robert says, if it looks like a Nazi, smells like a Nazi, and feels like a Nazi, and tastes like a Nazi, just be glad we didn't step in it. I love that. I was going to say, where are we going with this? Taste. Ugh. Rochelle, thanks for having Kyle on. Great conversation. Andrew, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Oh my God, everyone gobble those up. Micro Kimmy says, as a mother of a trans teen, it's so hard to watch your kid suffer. We live in Texas where he can't receive health care. He has an amazing therapist and helps us get through the rough days. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Micro Kimmy. I'm sending a lot of love out to you and your kid, and I hope he's okay. And I hope that, I guess for now, that feels like it's at least this therapist can help him. Again, not every child, wants hormone blockers or whatnot, or puberty blockers. So, and hopefully they can still get them when they need them. Yeah, man, I really appreciated Kyle's conversation today, just because also I think, I'm definitely someone who I don't think Kyle and I agree on every issue. And I think that, I probably would have bristled a lot at him giving, some airtime to Rogan or trying to lean in to try to find this common ground. You know, I also think that the Russia story wasn't made up. You know, I didn't believe in going as hard on it as Maddow did, but it did matter, and it still does matter that Russia has its grubby hands all over the Republican Party, and of course the first Trump administration. So I don't know. I love that we're like now kind of finding common ground with new folks and making this sort of like this A-team force come together. I really enjoy talking to folks I hadn't before and hear them out and see their perspective. So, and Kyle's just, again, so switched on, such a fucking, such a dynamite commentator. Sean, thank you so much for becoming a member on YouTube. And everybody, if you're a patron at $10 or more, and there's so many people who've upped their pledge, shout out during the Loathe to Fart song. Send me questions for Ask Me Anything. I will see you next Tuesday. It's going to be a great show. Just know that it's going to be a great show. And if you haven't checked out America Unhinged, that is my show with Zateo. It's on YouTube, youtube.com/@Zateo. And you can watch me and Wajahat. We had David Dayan on yesterday, and we talked all about the breaking news, 10,000 USAID workers fired. Sending you all just so much love and solidarity. We're going to get through this. We're going to fight this. We're going to fight it on every level. Have as good of a weekend as you can. Bye.